A historic record struck Alaska. Juneau faced an unprecedented flood when a massive outburst of water from Suicide Basin unleashed an unstoppable surge into the Mendenhall River, breaking all previous records. The scale of the event tested the strength of the newly built defenses. HESCO barriers rising more than 2 meters stretched along the riverbank, absorbing much of the impact and preventing hundreds of homes from being destroyed. The water pushed forward with force. Several streets were covered and some houses reported seepage, but storm drains managed to redirect much of the flow into lower areas. Thanks to this, large-scale neighborhood flooding did not occur. The key was the early response. Local authorities confirmed that quick evacuations and the strength of the barrier wall were decisive in preventing greater destruction. The origin of the emergency was the sudden collapse of meltwater retained in Suicide Basin. Billions of gallons were released at once, pouring into Mendenhall Lake and driving the river to its highest crest ever recorded. Every second counted. The flow multiplied within hours, and the defenses were pushed to the limit. The rise of the lake and the river's crest marked a critical point that kept all agencies on alert. To monitor the unfolding disaster, scientists and emergency teams deployed drones, flow gauges, and ground patrols. Their goal was to measure the force of the surge and detect any new signs of rupture. Despite being hit by trees and under immense pressure from the current, the HESCO barrier held. Only minor seepage was recorded, without compromising the overall structure. Residents in flood-prone areas had already left the night before. Warnings were clear: do not wait until morning. That decision meant no rescues were needed during the most dangerous hours of the flood. Three schools were closed as a precaution, and a Red Cross shelter was opened at Floyd Dryden Gymnasium to house displaced families. Meanwhile, power crews carried out selective shutoffs in high-risk areas. Electricity was gradually restored as water levels began to recede. Several nearby roads became unusable. Water and debris blocked access, forcing cleanup and repair crews to work for hours. Infrastructure also took damage. The approach to the Backloop Road Bridge was eroded by rushing water, though engineers confirmed the bridge structure itself remained sound. Local officials stressed that without the barriers, the scenario could have equaled or surpassed last year's disaster, when around 300 homes were flooded. The temporary wall was built with more than 10,000 sand-filled units joined in a continuous line along the most vulnerable parts of the river. Although some leakage occurred, the system fulfilled its purpose and withstood the onslaught throughout the peak of the flood. Coordination was essential. State, local, and federal agencies worked together, with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers providing materials and logistical support. The glacier reminded everyone of its power. Suicide Basin has unleashed floods nearly every year for over a decade, but the size and frequency of recent events have increased with retreating glaciers and warming conditions. The unpredictability of these floods forces constant vigilance each summer. Every season carries the possibility of a sudden outburst. Residents who had suffered losses in past years acknowledged that alerts and barriers prevented a repeat of devastation in 2025. Experts noted that accelerated glacial melt increases the risk of sudden floods. Pressure building up in these ice basins can unleash in minutes what took weeks to accumulate. The scientific community emphasized that such floods are a direct consequence of global warming in polar regions. The lesson was clear: preparation saves lives. Reinforced infrastructure, quick evacuations, and constant monitoring turned what could have been a disaster into a contained emergency. The economic cost is still being assessed, but authorities estimate damages were significantly lower than in previous years. Road and utility repairs are ongoing, while engineers continue to inspect the condition of the temporary defenses. Specialists anticipate that in the future, even stronger systems will be needed to withstand greater flows. For Juneau, the event highlighted how immediate action can change the outcome. What seemed inevitable was contained. Nature showed its strength, but human preparation turned catastrophe into a controlled emergency.